Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the last model year for the Chevrolet Corvette C7. This is a 2019 Z06 with the 1LZ package. Huge shout out to Carolina Auto Direct for providing this for me today. Definitely take a look at their website. They're always getting in some very cool inventory. That link is down in the description. This Z06 is finished off in Arctic White. They had an original MSRP right around $82,000. And underneath the hood, this is powered by a 6.2 liter supercharged V8. This model is paired to the 7-speed manual transmission. It pumps out 650 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the rear wheels, propelling this 3,500-pound sports car from 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. Those times are for the manual and the automatic. This has a top speed of 195 miles an hour. And as far as fuel economy goes, you're looking around 15 miles per gallon in the city, 22 out on the highway. That's running off an 18.5 gallon fuel tank. This also has a wheelbase of 106.7 inches. Its overall length is 177.9. It has a width of 77.4, a height of 48.6, and its ground clearance measures in at 5.3 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for this C7, this has such a classic design that I know a lot of car enthusiasts really like. Up front, the Corvette badge is right at the base of the hood there, where this does have functional heat extraction vents right in the middle with that gloss black trim. There's LED headlights, DRLs, and turn signals with a pretty flat design to them, just matching the rest of the bodywork for those front portions of the fenders on both sides. There's also a lot of cutouts in the lower section with all the gloss black, and then a very large spoiler for this particular model. You'll notice too that it jets out slightly on both sides to cover the front of those tires, and then they work well with the fender flares and those inserts that are on both sides. Personally, I think this is one of the best looking Corvettes that was made. And then as we work our way to the side, this Z06 has a staggered setup. They're 19 by 10 up front and 20 by 12 in the rear. This also has the carbon ceramic brakes with the red brake calipers too. Very large for this. A lot of stopping power for all of that horsepower that this model has. Now there's the Z06 badge with a functional trim accent just behind that front tire. There's a lower side skirt there that matches nicely with the front lip that I just showed. There's carbon flash for the side mirrors as well. And then this is a convertible, so it does have that targa top, which you can remove and place in the trunk if you'd like to. And then there's also more inlets in the back there to provide additional cooling. And then we have a very nice aggressive side profile design. All of the lines and contours and just the shape in general gives it a distinctive look. Now in back, this does have a pretty large gloss black spoiler. There's a backup camera with Corvette and that logo right in the middle. There's also a 3D dimensional design to these LED taillights. There's gloss black in the entire lower section, and then a quad tip exhaust. This is a Corsa exhaust, so it is aftermarket. It sounds great, as you will hear shortly. Now, as we work our way to the trunk space, you can use the button on the key fob. There's also a hidden button underneath the first E, and then when you lift this up, there's actually a good bit of space. You can work your way to the seats there, so if you have some longer items, you can put them through. But there's also the attachments for the roof, so you can lock it into place and take it with you if you don't want it on, or with it up, you have plenty of space for any items that you like to place. There's even a net here where you can safely secure items. Now there's a grab handle on one side, and this does have the soft close, so as long as you lock it, it will close the rest of the way. And then as we work our way to the interior, the release handle is hidden. So just put your fingers in this pocket here. There's that electronic button that will release. And then the door panel has a great design to it with all the leather and stitching. This has Bose audio, a little bit of storage down below. This is the electronic release to exit the vehicle. And then there's the window adjustments and Corvette spelled down on the door sill there. Now taking a look at these leather seats, they have a nice design to them. They are automatic. All of those controls are down on the side along with the manual release. So if the battery dies for whatever reason, that is your manual release if the electronic one on the door does not work. So you have the fail-safe there to exit. Now the steering wheel is finished off in solid leather. Z06 with carbon fiber is in the lower section. And then with my foot on the brake and the clutch, let's fire this up and take a listen to how this sounds. Going back to the gauge cluster, on the left side there's miles per hour, right side is fuel as well as your PSI, and then right in the middle you can go through a lot more info. Currently it's showing PSI on the left side, you have some temperatures on the right, and then the tach front and center with miles per hour. Now I can scroll through and look at some general information, really things you don't need to look at for a American car like this, muscle car like this, but then we have some other vitals that you can monitor as needed. But if you go back over to this left side now, you can actually pull up a lot more. So you can go through all of these vitals for all of the performance driving that you'd like to do, monitor your 0 to 60, and you have some other vitals. So if you're taking this to the track or just doing some performance driving, you can quickly monitor all of that. You can also get into audio and phone, there's navigation, and then options too. So going into options, you can go into your sport mode, that you can disable or activate, and then there's a few other settings, even the head-up display that you can look at. So it's nice, it's pretty similar to some other Chevrolet models. On the right side of the steering wheel, there's also Bluetooth and voice commands, and even though this is a manual, we have paddle shifters for the rev matching. They both do the exact same thing, so they are redundant, but you can turn them on and off with either paddle. Left side, there's also cruise control settings, you have favorites as well as volume. And then over on this left side, this is how you can adjust the head-up display. So there's a few different variations that you can go through. We can look at just miles per hour. We can pull up the tach with miles per hour as well. You can hide the miles per hour or just pull up everything. So it's nice just depending on the info that you would like to see. You have some different adjustments for that, your placement and the brightness. There's the side mirror controls, one air vent. And then as we work our way to this infotainment system, hazards are just above that, along with another air vent. There's power and volume for the radio, and you even get hidden storage. I wish a lot more manufacturers did that, but you can hide that screen away, actually hide items away when you have that screen down. And then we have some physical buttons down below to get through this. It is a touchscreen system as well. So there's a lot of apps that you can go into and configure. You have menu right in the middle that you can go into as well. So pretty nice to have that. Climate adjustments are on both sides with fan speed and your temperature. And then you have where you'd like the air to go, sync, and all of that. Now we have the Z06 supercharged badge with 650 and 650. There's an auxiliary on that passenger side along with a grab handle. And then with the manual transmission, if we go all the way over and down to the right, that is for the backup camera. And then we have the rest of the gears, of course, to go through. There's also two cup holders on that passenger side. There's the e-brake. And then we also have a mode selector for the different driving modes. So if I twist it to the left, we can go through touring, eco, there's also weather, and then going back to the right, we can go into sport and track mode. If you push on the center of it, that is how you can shut off traction control as well. Right in the middle, we can open this up where we have a good bit of space. You can put some items, and then there's a glove box where you have a lot more space, of course. Up top, there's the rear view mirror, and then behind both of the sunshades, this is how you can release the top. So there's a handle on both sides, as well as this one right in the middle, and from there you can just lift it off and store it in the back. And then as far as visibility goes, you actually have a lot of glass. So this provides you with pretty much a 360 view. A little bit of a pillar right there, but you can angle your head slightly in either direction. And you have your side mirror, of course, to help you out. So as we set up now behind the wheel for this C7, this is a very cool vehicle to check out. One that I don't get to drive too often. They're almost really hard to find too. Now, one thing I just kind of want to break off here a little bit is the C8. That is the all-new Corvette that Chevrolet came out with. First mid-engine vehicle from Chevrolet. It's missing the manual transmission. So it's a mid-engine, it still has the option of having the Targa, or you can get the convertible, but it doesn't have the manual transmission, which I think was very interesting to see, seeing as Chevrolet has put the manual in every single Corvette since the beginning with the C1. Now I think the C7, as well as some of the other Corvette models, including the C6 that we just passed there, I think they're going to be a little bit more sought after, especially with this manual transmission. And I almost wanted to buy the C8, but without the manual, that puts me to the C7 here. I'm not going to get one, but honestly, I think this would be a lot of fun to own. Woo! And you have a lot of power to those rear wheels. You also have a really good sounding exhaust. This is a vehicle that you can't just hop in it and think you can drive. We have a lot of power with rear wheel drive that you need to know what you're doing to drive this vehicle so you don't get sideways, things like that. But it is something that you could have a lot of fun with. And a mild acceleration, we're up to speed. I'm gonna go into 7th gear just for fun. This is mainly your cruising gear. I've never really been around a 7-speed manual, so that's kind of neat. If you want to save some MPG while you're out on the highway or something like that, you have the 7th gear as an overdrive to do that. But you can redline to about 6,500, so if you're on some mountain drives, you can play with a few gears and really have some fun with this car. Now, one thing interesting to note too, that I found in driving this in parking lot situations or just getting up to speed very leisurely, there's actually a lockout in the manual. So if you start from 1st gear and you just kind of casually get up, it will force you to go straight into 4th gear. So it's going to help a little bit with MPG savings if you're not ripping on it. It's just a little bit more modern driving or a little bit more casual, laid-back driving, which is interesting to see. A lot of other Chevrolet models do that, so it's not unusual. This is quick. This is such a fun car to drive. You have the active rev matching too if you want to use that, but the clutch pedal and the gas pedal, that's not hard to heel toe downshift. I think the spacing is really nice. I'm actually almost covering the entire brake pedal and the gas pedal with my shoe. So they're laid out very well in order to do that. And the clutch pedal is super light. And the shifter is very engaging. So it's easy to drive this car. It's a lot of fun. It'll put a smile on your face, that's for sure. And from 2nd gear, here we go. And then we got the brakes. That will do a great job bringing this to a stop. This is such a fun car to drive. This is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the C7 Z06. Let's do another acceleration here once we get a little bit more straight. This is a quick car. Definitely fun. I could see buying one of these. It's very practical with the space that you have in the back. So you can bring some items with you. You can have another passenger as well. And then you can just drive it like normal. The exhaust on this particular model being aftermarket, it's not really loud, just cruising. And you get a comfortable, somewhat comfortable vehicle. I know this is an extremely popular vehicle, especially with the older demographics, and they drive them all the time. There's young people that own them too, but this would be something that you can absolutely drive every single day. We got some pops in that exhaust as well, and obviously with the aftermarket exhaust, it will do that. Now I'm going to crack the windows slightly. This will kind of mimic taking the whole top off. I'm not going to do that in today's video, but we can at least hear a little bit of that exhaust. And then of course a little bit of wind noise there too. But if you want that top down, you want to listen to that exhaust really rip, especially if you're doing performance driving. It's the best of both worlds. You got the hard top basically, and then you have a convertible when you're ready to take it off. But comment down below, would you rather have a C7 with a manual transmission? You can get the automatic as well, or would you rather have the Corvette C8? If that came with a manual transmission, I would have stayed on the waiting list for mine, but I decided to back out. Honestly, for the price, I think you get a little bit more storage, but you get the mid-engine in that with a little bit more storage, but the manual just makes it that much more fun in my opinion. This is such an engaging car, and especially with that exhaust, it really livens it up and makes this a fun vehicle that you need to learn how to drive. This is something that you can grow into as you become more familiar with the car, as you do more performance style driving. You can really dial in how this vehicle is and just learn how to drive it. So it's a car that it could take you some time to really know its limits and what you personally are capable of when you're driving this out on the road or even at the track or some mountain roads. But that is going to wrap it up for the last year for the Corvette C7. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to check out Carolina Auto Direct. That link is down in the description below. And give this video a huge thumbs up. Consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. I'll see you all in the next video.